What is going on, Bears fans? It's time to talk about these head coaches and do they fit into the Chicago Bears scheme. If you like this type of content, make sure you hit the like button on the way in. We're going to look at a few of these guys, and there's been a lot of names that have been thrown around so far. Ben Johnson comes to mind, largely because look, the Detroit Lions currently have the number one performing offense in the league. They look unstoppable. Are they stoppable? Sure. However, they are playing a game the way it's currently meant to be played. That offense is clicking on all cylinders. They've got a strong running game. They've got a devastating passing game. And that's Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson is the prohibitive favorite right now to become the next Chicago coach. However, we don't want to sleep on the man, the guy who's currently here, and that is Thomas Brown. Now, here's the thing. There is continuity as a question right now in Thomas Brown. Can Thomas Brown be that guy? And is he a solid hire? And would he be the man, if you will? And the answer is that probably. He seems to have the attentions of the entire team. They seem to be on the right page with him right now. But we're going to see what the product on the field really looks like. He's given us an opportunity to win games with his coaching in the last couple of weeks. But head coach did not do the job right to give us that nail in the coffin, if you will. And here's the thing. With San Francisco coming up on the slate right now, San Francisco struggling. Everybody there seems to have gotten older very quickly. And now I think San Francisco is kind of struggling. This might be the end of Kyle Shanahan in San Francisco. That might be where we are. So maybe, just maybe, this is going to be a great start for Thomas Brown as a head coach. And again, he's trying out for the role, if you will. The other guy, Bobby Slowick, which is the offensive coordinator for the Houston Texans, he's also out there on the roster. We're going to break a few of these guys down, and we're going to see, who is it that we're looking for? Are we intrigued by the fact that Bill Belichick might come here? I'm not. Personally, nothing against Bill Belichick. I don't care what the PSI is on a football. It doesn't matter to me. What matters to me is winning. I just don't think that the culture of the Chicago Bears is such that, and by the way, I do think that Bill Belichick 5 years ago, maybe 10 years ago, probably would have been a great hire for the Chicago Bears in a full-on rebuild with a lot of time to work on it, stuff like that. I just don't think that Bill Belichick has that kind of time anymore. I'm not sure about his passion or anything like that. I'm just saying I don't think that, really he fits in just right where we would like him to. So, but let me know what you think in the comment section down below about that, and let's kick this off. All right, guys, Bleacher Nation has the Tier 1, absolutely, these are the guys that we would want to hire, with number 1, Ben Johnson. Now, of course, Ben Johnson is running currently the best offense in the league. We see it. And we know, by the way, Chicago Bears have had that number. There were opportunities to win this game. There were opportunities to win this game against Detroit. And we Matt Eberflused it. We absolutely Matt Eberflused it. Didn't win the game as we really should have. I told you guys that it is my opinion that the Chicago Bears have the number of the Detroit Lions, but you can't fix poor coaching. You cannot fix what Matt Eberflus did to devastate this team every single time. Anytime you got an opportunity, he found a way to snatch defeat out of the hands of victory. With that being the case, here we are. The question is, will Ben Johnson be an adequate coach? And listen, the answer to that is we don't know right now. Here's what we do know. We know that he'll bring passion. He'll bring a functioning, high-octane offense. We know that we have the talent to do something with that. Look, we can argue, but Braxton Jones, Darnell Wright have been two of the best tackles in the league so far this year. The problem has been the center and the guards play so far, but also Caleb was holding on to the ball because we were having these intricate, stupid schemes that Shane Waldron was trying to throw on people. We didn't simplify the offense to allow for growth. And then when we did, Shane Waldron was gone, and now we're starting to see that happen. Well, Ben Johnson's the kind of guy who would recognize that right away and put together a team based on the abilities so that something like what we see in Detroit would be happening here in Chicago, and it would be easy to happen. Caleb Williams, prohibitively, I'm not saying he is right now, but Caleb Williams has a much bigger upside for me than Jared Goff does. And look, nothing against Jared Goff. I think Jared Goff has been a fantastic player, and I think it's silly that the Rams let him go. But they won a Super Bowl with Matthew Stafford, and Jared Goff now looks like a superstar in the league while Matthew Stafford is starting to fall off. So was this a good move for that team? I don't think so. I don't think so. But Jared Goff is now benefiting from this guy's play calling. So I think Ben Johnson should be a prohibitive favorite. Thomas Brown is, this is the important one right here. Thomas Brown is the guy that's really getting the job on the fly. Is he capable of being that next guy? Well, we like what we see so far. There's comparisons. There's been a lot of comparisons, by the way, to Mike Tomlin. And I don't know why we're comparing him to Mike Tomlin. Mike Tomlin, one thing that I will tell you this, Mike Tomlin always has a tough team. Pittsburgh is never an easy out. Pittsburgh is always a tough out. But Thomas Brown is an offensive guy. It strikes me that the Steelers are kind of based on defense. So, I'm not sure. I'm not sure that I would equate him to Mike Tomlin. But here's the thing. The part that people admire about Mike Tomlin is the intensity and the fire and the belief that his team is better than your team. And I'm behind that. Like, I dig that. I think that's a good thing. So, maybe Thomas Brown comes in here. And look, if he goes 5-0, to end this season, if he goes 4-1 to end this season, even if he goes 3-2 to end this season, and we see this team being competitive, and we see him not making boneheaded mistakes, I think it's a no-brainer that Thomas Brown becomes that guy by default. That would be what I would think would happen. The problem with this is, how does he line up his squad? How does he put together his team of coaches, and what does that look like? Is Eric Washington included? Look, the team has been starting over for decades now. We've been doing this for 40 years, trying to put together that team. And, take away the 2007 Super Bowl, and we've just been rebuilding. And we've certainly been rebuilding since that moment. And that was 17 years ago. Lovie Smith is gone. We've gone through this battery of coaching staffs, and the only commonality in it is the ownership. So, what they're looking for is not what's good for the NFL. That's the most important thing. Is I think that they want a Belichick type instead of what you should be having in today's NFL. I think the Chicago Bears have been behind the curve for a while. Now, I also want to say this, that there were some rumors coming around, Ryan Poles recently, that he hired Matt Eberflus, but that Matt Eberflus was kind of forced down his throat by the McCaskies. There's a rumor that's floating around. I don't know that it's valid or not, but here's what I want to say to that. It makes perfect sense because the phrase that gets thrown around is leader of men. Right? Well, that's the phrase that got thrown around with Matt Eberflus, too. That's the one that got thrown around with Matt Nagy, too. Leader of men is just a George McCaskey way of saying what we want is we want a defensive-minded, conservative play-calling coach, and that is just silly. So, at this point, we are told by Kevin Warren that Ryan Poles will have the final say on who the coach is. So hopefully he recognizes this and he sees this as an opportunity. Thomas Brown is on the clock right now, and we will see what this looks like. This might be all for naught. Now, number 3, Bobby Slowick. He was a hot name last January after C.J. Stroud's incredible rookie season under his watch as the rookie offensive coordinator. I don't like that right away. However, I do want to say this, that the fact that Houston has not been great this year is to me is a non-starter, because I think that he also that has to do with talent around and adaptation and how you handle your sophomore season, et cetera, et cetera. There's pieces to this where, are you looking at a guy who's putting together plays that work? And the answer to that is yes. So if he's doing that, then I like him, okay? I don't like the intensity versus Thomas Brown yet, but he is still a good and smart guy who makes a lot of good decisions for his team. Now, tier 2 is where things get a little bit interesting. We've got Liam Cohen out here, who's turned Baker Mayfield into just a great player, averaging 4 touchdowns a game. Tampa Bay ranks 6th in EPA, 5th in EPA pass, and 11th in EPA versus a rush. So that's a great opportunity. And by the way, you'll notice a lot of offensive coordinators in this mix, because despite the fact that, it doesn't matter whether you're defensive-minded or offensive-minded, it does matter in this league right now when you have a player of the caliber of Caleb Williams, the caliber of Rome Odunze, the caliber of DeAndre Swift. This entire team is built for offense. DJ Moore, Cole Kmet. Guys, we have to get this, we have to open this offense up. We need an offensive mind at this point. Okay, so that's why you're going to see a lot of offensive coordinators in this mix here. You also have Joe Brady. Now, Joe Brady was considered way up there on the chart, but there are some questions about how he runs things. He served as the offensive coordinator in Carolina for 2 seasons under Matt Rule. Brady was fired in 2021 after Carolina started 5-7. There are some problems with Joe Brady, and by the way, some of this has to do with talent. Remember, this is the year that we're fleecing for DJ Moore, so I do have some questions about it. And he was the passing game coordinator with Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and Justin Jefferson. So the guy has a pedigree. But again, this is tier 2 in my opinion. Mike Vrabel. Look, Mike Vrabel. There it is. If the Bears are looking for a leader of men, you'll often hear Mike Vrabel's name through the process. He's a tough, hard-nosed guy. He holds people accountable, and he makes a culture. Okay. And it's a strong sort of culture. However, the thing is, he maximizes his talent. Look, this is the guy that chose Nate Davis. That's the reason I'm going to say no. But this is the guy that chose Nate Davis, and that probably would bring Nate Davis back. You know what I mean? So I'm not really that big a fan of his. Dan Pitcher, offensive coordinator. Look, I think this is Joe Burrow. I don't think this is Dan Pitcher. I think that they created a team that runs incredibly, phenomenally well. I don't know that Dan Pitcher is that guy for me. Zach Robinson, the OC in Atlanta, I'm not really sure about that one either. Brian Flores, Minnesota Vikings defensive coordinator. Again, that's one of those toughness kind of guys. I like him, but I don't think that. The question is, what did he learn while he was in Miami? And, I don't know the answer to that. Now, coming after this, we've got Greg Roman, who worked with Lamar Jackson for a while as the offensive coordinator in Baltimore, now in Los Angeles as the offensive coordinator. Bill Belichick, I just want to skip over that. I want to say that he's out there, but I'm not a fan. I don't think that is a good move for this team at all. Detroit Lions defense coordinator Aaron Glenn, also I'm on the out with that. I would like offensive. I would like the focus to be on the offense right now, even though I know it doesn't really matter too much once you get to the coordinator position, but I just don't want to see another defensive coordinator, defensive-minded coach out here doing their thing. Look, we didn't end very well with Matt Nagy, but we also didn't give him all of the stuff that he needed in order to be successful. I just want to say that Ryan Pace didn't do a great job and didn't give Matt Nagy all the things and all the tools that he needed to be successful. I still think it's about an offensive-minded coach for that purpose, and that leaves us with Drew Petzing and then Kellen Moore. And Kellen Moore, I'll be honest with you, I love Kellen Moore, but is he a great coach? As a head coach, we're going to have to find out. Somebody's going to have to give him that first job. And then Cliff Kingsbury. Look, if you interviewed Cliff Kingsbury and Shane Waldron and you went with Shane Waldron, then something is wrong in your front office. The end of story. Cliff Kingsbury was the guy behind Caleb Williams, and now he's the guy that made Jaden Daniels, at least in the beginning, look like the rookie of the year. Okay, so now the question is, who is going to be the guy? Now, there's Notre Dame head coach Marcus Freeman out there. There's Jesse Minter out there. There's plenty of different names, but we're going to go back up to the top here, and we're going to talk about the number 1 and number 2 guys. And I don't think we go beyond these two, by the way. If we do and we end up with Bobby Slowick, then I would be disappointed in the process. Number 1, Ben Johnson. For me, he is my number 2 guy at this moment. Okay, he's my number 2. My number 1 guy is still Thomas Brown, and it is not because I think any less of Ben Johnson. It is because at this point I feel like I'm all in on Thomas Brown. I love what I've seen so far. The passion that he brings to it, I think, will bring a lot of unity to the Chicago Bears going into this final stretch of games. I think he's doing a good job right now of reminding the Chicago Bears, hey, you guys are fantastic. You are a great team. You are not coached as a great team, but you are a great team, from Caleb Williams to DJ Moore to Montez Sweat to TJ Edwards to Jalen Johnson to Jaquan Brisker, who's suddenly healthy and back. Matt Eberflus, what's that all about? But all of these guys, look, ultimately, here's what I'm going to say. The Chicago Bears are on a path right now to hiring Thomas Brown, and it should be at this point a no-brainer. If the product on the field matches the intensity that we see in the press conferences and the answers that he's giving so far, if all of that plays out and all of that checks out, I am so far in on Thomas Brown, it won't even be funny, okay? Thomas Brown is my guy. There's nobody else on my list other than Ben Johnson at this point. But let me know what you think in the comments down below. Do you think Thomas Brown's got this? What do you think is going to end up happening? What do you think of Ben Johnson as an option? And what about Bobby Slowick? I mean, I want to see Thomas Brown win this. I really do. But again, my guy, Ben Johnson, will also be in there. So let me know what you think in the comments down below. Bear down. And we got San Francisco coming up in a couple of days. I really think this is going to be an easy win for the Chicago Bears, a surprisingly easy win, because I think that the San Francisco 49ers right now are self-destructing, and the Bears have an opportunity to catch somebody sleeping right now, which didn't feel that way at the beginning of the season, but it does feel that way right now. And then we go into the back stretch, and we get another crack at Green Bay. We get another crack at Detroit. We get another crack at Minnesota. Let's sweep this. Let's make something big happen, and let's see how this team fares and how we do. Anyway, that's my time. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll talk to you again soon.